will not be going to the White House. I just don't feel welcome.
You're not going to the White House. Why is that?
Been before.
It never really was a political thing.
This is America. We're all free to do whatever's best for us.
We don't have a commonality anymore where you would think that this would simply be an honor no matter who is in the White House.
We know how the game really goes. If you have a top recruit, some people may solicit him for his services and want to offer extra benefits.
The NCAA puts rules out there for all of us. Sometimes you can follow them a certain way within the rules that helps you more than others.
I'm sure no one's laughing harder right now than Jim Harbaugh is.
Some people say you're crazy like a fox. Some people say you're just crazy.
Not crazy.
Welcome to Outside the Lines. I'm Ryan Smith, sitting in for Bob Lee. Well, dating back to 1865, when Andrew Johnson was president, the White House has been the exclamation point on a long journey to the top of sport. In recent years, White House visits have been commonplace. President Obama hosting dozens of receptions for championship teams, including his hometown Chicago Cubs during his last week in office.
We know you may have certain allegiances to another team on the other side of town, but we know you're a very proud Chicagoan. And we know your better, wiser half, the First Lady, has been a lifelong and very loyal Cub fan, which we appreciate very much.
But what was once as celebrated as going to Disney World after winning the Super Bowl seems to have lost some of its luster for some players.
You're not going to the White House.
No.
Why is that?
Been before. Been there, done that.
Is it if there was a different president in office, would
I
you
didn't
go?
when I went when Obama was there. I didn't go when we won in 14, so it's not a big presidential thing.
You just aren't going to go.
Well, I won't be going to the White House.
Is that a will not? No?
I will not. It's just some of the things that I just don't feel welcome into that house. I'm gonna just leave it at that.
Now, only 10 days after their Super Bowl win, 6 Patriots are publicly saying they won't go to the White House. Curious, considering the team hasn't even been invited yet. Now, look, it's no secret that athletes have skipped White House visits in the past for a variety of reasons, some political, some personal. In 2012, Bruins goaltender Tim Thomas said, quote, he exercised his rights as a free citizen in a bipartisan protest of the way the government works. And remember Larry Bird standing up Ronald Reagan in 1984 saying, if the president wants to see me, he knows where to find me. Now, Michael Jordan in 1991 took time off to be with his family, saying, how can I be disrespecting the president when I choose to spend time with my family? Bob Kraft says it's no big deal.
Every time we've had the privilege of going to the White House, a dozen of our players don't go. This is the first time it's gotten any media attention. You know, some of the players have the privilege of going in college because they're on national championship teams. Others have family commitments. So, but this is America. We're all free to do whatever's best for us, and we're just privileged to be in a position to be going.
Free indeed. And Tom Brady says players should have that choice.
Everyone has their own choice, and everyone. It's an off season, and these days are valuable for everybody. You only get so much time with your family and friends, and if people don't want to go, they don't want to go, and that's their choice.
So do you stay or do you go? How should athletes handle invitations to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue? Let's talk with Bill Polian, currently an ESPN NFL front office insider. He's been to the White House before, of course. And here meeting President George W. Bush in 2007, check that out, following the Colts Super Bowl win. Bruce Bowen, NBA analyst with ESPN, he's won 3 NBA titles with the Spurs, earning multiple trips to the White House. And Marcus Lamar, a sports writer for Ebony Magazine, who says in his latest article it's time to end the tradition because it puts players in a lose-lose situation. We'll touch back on that in just a second. But, Bill, let me start with you. Are players who don't go to the White House, are they missing out?
I think so, at least in my case. All I can speak to is my case, and the guys that I went with are guys from the Colts. One of the highlights of your life.
Why?
Well, first of all, I'm from a family of immigrants. My father came here from Ireland. He served in the Army Air Corps in World War II. He was very proud of that service. He, unfortunately, and my mother were not around to see us go to the White House. I'm sure they would have been very proud. It's the culmination of the American dream for them. And I felt that very strongly. We got to meet Condoleezza Rice. We got to meet the president. He took us into the Oval Office. that's a once-in-a-lifetime experience. I'll never forget it.
Not many people get to do that. We forget that sometimes. And Bruce Bowen, what was the visit like for you? Tell us what happens when you go to the White House.
Well, for me, I've been on different occasions. First time was with the team in 2003, and it was one of those surreal moments for me. It had nothing to do with my political view. It had more to do with an opportunity to see something that I had never seen before. A young man from the west side of Fresno being able to go to the White House. That's truly remarkable. Other visits were for other opportunities as well. And as you're on those grounds, you look at the White House and you say, wow, how did this come to be? Well, it was behind a lot of immigrants that helped build the White House. Slaves helped build the White House. So as you get there, you start to find out different things that you never knew because it's not taught in schools.
So for you, it's a new experience, a chance to learn about history in a way. Now, Marcus, I want to go to what your article said. You mentioned that the visit puts players in a lose-lose situation. Why is that?
Well, Ryan, essentially players who elect not to go to the White House will be forced to answer as to why they're not going. Like Bill Polian and Bruce Bowen said so eloquently, going to the White House is a once-in-a-lifetime experience. So for those players who elect to not go, it would leave one curious as to why you would learn to miss out on such an opportunity. But in the instance of cases like Tom Brady, he elected not to go 2 years ago. We see several New England Patriots players not going this year. It poses the question, why are they not going? Some have gone on the record and being up forth and saying, out front, I don't feel welcome in that house. So it puts players in a lose-lose situation because now they're forced to explain their political views and their personal views when we were taught as young children, you don't discuss three things, religion, politics, and money.
And you think for that they should do away with the visits?
I think we should disband the tradition because if we're being quite frank, it's nothing more than a photo op. It's meant to be represent mere optics. So, for instance, it's not going to curry any favor with the president if he's seen photographing pictures with the New England Patriots or their wide receivers or the quarterback, and it's not going to do any of the players any justice if they're seen taking pictures with the president. It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, but are we sending a message to America that you can only get this opportunity if you win a sports championship? I think it's the wrong message, and I think, quite frankly, it's outdated.
Bill, what do you think?
Can I say something to that? Because I feel like...
Hang on, Bruce. Let me go to Bill first. Go ahead.
If it was a photo opportunity, it was a good one because I have 3 photos hanging in my office that I hope will be handed down to my grandchildren. I don't. If players choose not to go or executives choose not to go, that's their prerogative. To do away with it, I think, is foolish and robs people of an opportunity that they would otherwise not get.
Bruce, you were going to say?
Yeah, I was going to say, when you have these types of moments and opportunities, it's something that you can pass on, as Bill talked about. But more importantly, if you have issues with someone, don't allow that individual to make things even worse for your situation. And what I mean by that is, because they're there, don't say, I'm not going, and give that individual that kind of power. You can still utilize that as teaching moments. I'm sure there's times where players didn't agree with their coaches, and they still followed instructions, or they still bought into the game plan, and they became victorious. So it's not just about not agreeing with someone because you don't always agree with your teammates, but it is about taking advantage of a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity that you can continuously talk about to others behind you as far as being bigger and being a better person for that.
Okay, and let's talk about, and part of what we're talking about here is people are outspoken today. They might have differences politically. Let's talk about something Adam Silver said. He called players not going a lost opportunity. He said, because that's an opportunity that most citizens who have a political point of view would kill for, the opportunity to tell the President of the United States how they feel about an issue. He said, now, if the President were to say, I have no interest in what an NBA player thinks about an issue, or someone there does, it might surprise me. I might have a different response. But, Bruce, do players, if they do have a political position, do they have the opportunity to say that to a president or someone in power when they go visit the White House?
They have an opportunity. It's just the way you do things. As we all know, there is a way that you do everything. You don't come and bombard a president with, well, why didn't you do this or why didn't you do that? First of all, you got to learn the facts. And secondly, when you're able to communicate with one another, we see people coming together. I think it's so important that the best part of this country is we have freedom of speech, but it's so important to respect what people have to say. And if you don't agree with it, it doesn't mean that you now go against that individual with venom and things of that nature, but it's about respecting their opinion. And if they don't agree with you, hey, at least you've brought it out to them in a calm manner, in a respectful manner, where we can continue the process of having open dialogue.
Marcus, it's an interesting point. Why not go and have that conversation if you want to? In a sense, players have the opportunity to go or not, why do away with the practice if you could go there and possibly share that view?
But Bruce and Bill, if we're being totally honest, players have come out and said that they're not going to the White House. A majority of those players happen to be minority and African American. This now puts other minority and African American players on the team in a predicament where if they go, they're going to face backlash. Backlash from who? Backlash from people in the media. Backlash from American society. So in order to have or to avoid that uncomfortable moment, we should simply disband the practice of having players go. There's nothing wrong with the President of the United States sending a congratulatory video from the confines of the Oval Office so we can avoid these awkward moments. Instead of talking about how the New England Patriots came back from an improbable deficit in the Super Bowl, we're sitting here talking about today if players should or shouldn't go. It makes for bad optics. It's very divisive.
Go ahead.
It's very divisive. And the last thing this nation needs is more division.
All right, Bill.
There's nothing divisive about it. First of all, as I said, it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for any player, any coach, any executive, no matter what their race, creed, or religion. Secondly, to the point of making points, there is a press availability on the North Portico after you visit the president, usually with your hometown media. And so if you have something you want to say, you have the opportunity to do it in a respectful manner. I think throwing out the baby with the bathwater because somebody might feel uncomfortable is about as dumb a thing as I've ever heard.
All right. Well, also Clemson, you would think they would have a trip there as well. They have not. We talked to them. They haven't been invited just yet, neither are the Patriots, but we will see how this all plays out. Bill, Bruce, Marcus, thank you so much. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
All right, time now to check out some stories that are trending today. More bad news for Tiger Woods in his latest comeback attempt. Apparently, the issues with his back are so bad that he's been advised by doctors to not only stop playing golf right now, but he had to cancel his appearance at a press conference. The culprit this time, ongoing back spasms. Michigan State University's longtime head gymnastics coach has retired one day after she was suspended by the university. Kathy Klages stepped down following allegations that she downplayed athlete concerns with medical treatment performed by MSU Dr. Larry Nassar. Nassar is accused of sexually abusing female patients, was the team doctor for MSU gymnasts, and was the team doctor for U.S. gymnasts at 4 Olympic Games. And if you want to see the Los Angeles Chargers, it's going to cost you plenty this season. The team is apparently betting that fans will be willing to pay more to sit closer to the field in the 30,000-seat StubHub Center than they did in San Diego. The LA Times reports the average ticket in the league's smallest stadium is going to cost you approximately $192, which would have been higher than the highest average in the NFL last season. And that's a look at some of the stories that are trending today. Well, he's climbed a tree, gone go-kart racing, even at a slumber party. Now Jim Harbaugh has a new approach to recruiting. Does that make him a trailblazer or a rule breaker? It's coming up next. Few college coaches seem to push the limits of NCAA recruiting rules like Michigan's Jim Harbaugh. Whether it's slumber parties at recruits' houses, satellite camps some complain double as recruiting fairs, or signing day galas featuring a who's who of sports luminaries, Harbaugh is a master in the winner-take-all game of recruiting, always upping the ante to get his man unafraid of what anyone says about him.
Some people say you're crazy like a fox. Some people say you're just crazy. But they all say you're progressive. How would you describe who you are to Ohioans?
Not crazy.
And now he's made another move that's raised eyebrows across the college football landscape, reportedly hiring Monday Michael Johnson Sr. to an unnamed position. Now, Michigan can't comment on the hiring until Johnson signs with the program. Why? Because the former 49ers assistant is the father of Michael Johnson Jr., considered one of the top dual-threat quarterback prospects heading into his junior season of high school. Now, this is not the first time that Harbaugh has hired a parent or a relative of a top recruit. You see, in 2015, he hired the mom of Stanford transfer Wayne Lyons to serve as director of player development. Also in 2015, he hired Chris Partridge from Paramus Catholic High School. The country's top recruit and Paramus star Rashawn Gary followed Partridge to Michigan. And by the way, last February, Devin Bush Sr. was added to the staff not long after signing top recruit Devin Bush Jr. Now, let's be clear here. If Harbaugh hired family to get the player, there is no NCAA rule preventing that in college football. And Harbaugh isn't the first coach to bring on family of a recruit. For example, Florida State brought on Mario Edwards Sr. in 2012 after Mario Jr., then one of the country's top recruits, was reportedly considering his commitment to the Seminoles. But now it seems the NCAA is scrutinizing these practices, voting in April on a rule to keep teams from hiring family or coaches of a prospect for non-football roles within 2 years of that prospect's enrollment. You can't argue with the results, going from 40th in terms of the recruiting class to 6th in the nation in 2016 and 2017. And his players, well, they say he's ahead of the game.
The most successful people have something kind of off about them that sets them apart from other people. So I think Coach Harbaugh is a really good example of that.
But when it comes to recruiting, is he going too far? Well, who better to talk to when we're talking college football and Jim Harbaugh than Paul Feinbaum, host of the Paul Feinbaum Show. And we also say hello to John U. Bacon, author of End Zone, The Rise, Fall, and Return of Michigan Football. John is also a Michigan grad and a sports commentator. Just have to say in full disclosure. All right, so Paul, John Harbaugh, evil genius, or is he playing by the rules?
He is an evil genius, Ryan. I think he's one of the smartest people I've run into in a long time. And most of what he has done is exactly that, genius. He's going to Rome. I think that's a wonderful thing to do. What it has to do with football, I'm not sure, but his players get something out of it. But this is wrong. It may not be illegal by NCAA standards and bylaws as of this moment, but to me it's cheating. It's blatantly disregarding the spirit of the NCAA rule. We all know why he's doing it. And this is the same person who last year accused Nick Saban of cheating. He accused Hugh Freeze of cheating. And in my mind, and I know you can't prove it and he won't be penalized for it, but he's cheating. And why don't we just face up to it? There's no other reason why he would hire this man. It's been done in the past. And you pointed out a couple of years ago it was done, but it's still wrong. And I don't know why the media celebrates Jim Harbaugh for disregarding the NCAA rule book and doing things that, in my mind, are unethical.
Okay, so John, weigh in. You know Harbaugh well. Is it cheating for you, and what's his mindset here?
Well, I've got a great deal of love and respect for Paul, as he knows, good friend, but I disagree with him on this one. Michael Johnson, by the way, was the offensive coordinator and quarterback coach for the 49ers. He was the quarterback coach when Jim was at San Diego, so you can't say this guy's underqualified by any means. He's probably overqualified, if anything. Obviously, he's got a hotshot son. I'm sure Jim is not oblivious to that fact. But you really can't build a roster based on hiring parents. You can't hire 85 parents over a long period of time. If the NCAA is going to worry about this, they might think more about poker chips changing hands, money being channeled through churches, credit cards being given. I'll never forget talking to Mike Motti at Penn State for my previous book, Fourth and Long, at Penn State, and he said, you know what's going on, I know what's going on, how come the NCAA does not know what's going on? So they're doing a great job of misdemeanors and a very poor job of felonies.
Now, we're talking about ethics here, though, in some ways. Isn't there, when you talk about Jim here, isn't there an ethical line that seems to be crossed, like Paul's mentioning? I mean, it just doesn't, for some people, pass that smell test of what should be happening with recruits.
I understand that, but I think, again, based on his qualifications, you'd have a very hard time saying this guy is not worthy of the job. If he was a defensive line coach at a very bad high school doing a very bad job and you're hiring him to coach quarterbacks, I would say yes, eyebrows would go up at that point. But I also got to go back to Jerry Tarkanian's great line. They're so mad at Kentucky that Cleveland State is going to get put on probation. While nothing's happening at Ole Miss after the Laramie Tunsil comments, of course, nothing's really happening there. It seems like they are hammering Jim on things that really should not matter very much. And it should also be noted, if this case ever goes to the court of law, that I would not want to be on the NCAA's side of this one because the plaintiff, is going to win that one. He's got a right to work.
Paul's shaking his head.
John,
Paul, weigh in.
John, first of all, the NCAA investigation is well underway at Ole Miss, and they suffered mightily for it in the most recent recruiting class. But listen, if this man was such a great coach, then why didn't Jim Harbaugh hire him earlier? Why did he wait till his son was about to become eligible to play at Michigan? And what bothers me, and no one's ever going to accuse Jim Harbaugh of this, and it's not going to stick. I mean, he is that smart. But for someone who likes to go around pointing fingers at everyone else, I think it's time to start pointing fingers at him. This is unethical.
Paul, real quick here, though.
It stinks to high heaven, and I don't know why you or the Michigan zealots out there want to keep propping him up.
It is legal, though. So isn't he doing exactly
no one
what
has
people
said it's not legal, Ryan and John, but for the bastion of what's supposed to be right in the world, it's wrong. And I think we ought to admit that, and there's no other reason why Jim Harbaugh is bringing these gentlemen on to his staff if they didn't have sons. I mean, let's face the facts, and why doesn't he be honest about that?
All right, guys, we'll let you fight it out off air. We got to get going. Paul, John, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, when we come back, happy anniversary, Bill Belichick. Why is today so important for two franchises? And what's the connection between this and Tom Brady?
Yo, everybody get up! Everybody get up! Everybody needs to understand that I'm more than simply a hype man for this rap group, just like Geico is more than just a company that can save you money. Geico also has fast and friendly claim service, so they can help you when you need it most. And while I do love being a hype man, I also love reading for children's audiobooks. Like Little Bo Peep, she lost the sheep, and she don't know where to find them. Yo!
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.
The crossover is back tonight on ESPN and ESPN2. We have our college announcers schooling the NBA, and the NBA guys are going back to school. Dickie V, Bill Walton paired up to do the Pacers Cavs. Kara Lawson, PJ Carlissimo do Iowa State K-State. Jay Billis, Doug Collins have Duke Virginia, and Dan Dakich and Jeff Van Gundy do Knicks Thunder. The crossover starting at 7 p.m. Eastern, ESPN, ESPN2. And join Michael and Jamel, the new 6 o'clock Sports Center. They're bringing their own brand of style and personality. Got sports, music, movies, more. All of that coming up on ESPN. The day after Valentine's Day. If you're a Patriots fan, you're still feeling the love of all things Brady and Belichick. But for the Cleveland Browns fans, it's just another excuse to feel heartbroken. You see, on this day 21 years ago, Bill Belichick was canned by the Cleveland Browns. Since then, Belichick has won 10 or more games 15 times, the Browns suffering through 14 10-loss seasons. Belichick's won 5 Super Bowl rings, and the Browns haven't won a playoff game. Sorry for the reminder, Browns fans, of this modern-day tale of two cities. But think of the bright side. First, if there's any solace, perhaps this was all predestined. After all, if you take Brady's number, you flip that 12 around, you get 21. You can't fight fate. And you don't have to worry about theft. At least nobody's stealing Robert Griffin III jerseys or worry about losing works of art.
Did someone take my jersey? That's what we're looking for right now. I put it in my bag.
It's like taking, a great Chagall or Picasso or something. You can never display it.
A Chagall or a Picasso, okay. And at least Browns fans don't have to worry about this. That thing right there, that's a Madagascar hissing cockroach. Zoo Atlanta, the losers of the Super Bowl bet with Rhode Island's Roger Williams Park Zoo, had to name a baby animal after the winning team's star quarterback. Now, both zoos figured that the loser would be pretty bitter about the game. Yeah, no kidding. So they agreed the animal in question would be a Madagascar hissing cockroach. So one of those little guys is now Tom Brady. So maybe that solves the other mystery right there, you see? Well, yeah, the Patriots are a masterpiece. While after 2 decades, the Browns are still a work in progress. But it goes to show you never know when you have a lightning in a bottle like Belichick. But when you do, you just have to pray you know when to hold them and not fold them. That's it for Outside the Lines today. NFL Insiders is next.